So this is part 2 of the crater garden, where it's actually a crater garden. It's almost finished. It just needs a little bit of tickling in the spring, just to finish off a couple of bits, but it's virtually there. And I need to stop to let it mature a little bit, because especially in winter, there's no point doing a huge amount of earthworks down here. You're wading around in mud, you're causing more damage than you're achieving anything. So you can see the original back berm of the pond finishes there. All of this round here is the new berm that's also been built out of this new section that's been dug out. You can see the swale coming down here. It's actually got water in, it froze last night. And you can see where the pipe comes in just here. I can turn that on and off. I've got a 90-degree swivel on the other end of it, so I can choose whether I want the swale to overspill into this pond or whether I want it to use the spillway, which is just the other side of that berm. I'll show you that in a bit. So it's nice to have that option, because obviously that water is coming originally from the duck pond. So for example, in winter, when I haven't got to worry about trying to get enough water into the pond, like I have in summer, when I want to keep as much water as I can on site. In winter, I don't necessarily want that nutrient dumping into this pond, where it's going to cause algal problems and things like that, where it builds up over the winter. It's already dealing with the nutrients from the fish are in there, and that's about its level really. It's a large nutrient source for a small pond for winter, when the plants aren't doing a great deal and taking up that nutrient and using it. So I can turn the pipe monk 90 degrees with the swivel pipe, and it leaves the spillway, so all that nutrient laden water will dissipate over in a big fan in like a delta shape outwards from the spillway over the whole land, and it'll just be infiltrated in, running over the soil and seeping into it. Just cleans it, and if anything, it'll just enrich that whole area rather than cause a big nutrient runoff problem. And eventually there will be another retention pond lower down in the landscape that'll take all of this and really polish it before it leaves sight. So yeah, let's have a little look. You can see I got boards down just so I don't slip around too much. It looks bare earth now, but there are surprising. Let's have a look. See, we've got all sorts of stuff. We've got legumes. There's some clover in here as well. Well, that is a legume, but yeah, it's doing really well. On the back of it, we've got radish, broccoli. What else is there? There's a kind of turnip. That'll be overseeded again in spring. A couple of months from now, you won't see any bare earth here. It'll all be plants. So this is the ebbings. It's Elaeagnus ebbingi. It's grows to about 5 meters. It gives us an edible fruit. It's nitrogen fixing, so it's leaf litter, as well as the nodules on the roots provide nitrogen for other plants. But mostly they're here because it grows to 5 meters and it's evergreen, and it's very, very wind hardy. So from here, the first one, you can see they're all the way around the ridge there until we get to around there. So as they come up and spread out and fill each other, that'll come up to about this sort of height and all the way around the back here. It's silvery, so it reflects light. That's why it's called silverberry. Let's have a look on the back of the leaves. You can see they have that silvery sheen to them. So yeah, it's going to be a big let's come down into the middle so I can show you properly. Here we go. Right, so as I stand here, and this is basically what the whole crater garden's about, that's south. So behind me, from where are we, here, right round all the way to there, with a huge screen all the way around behind me, that's going to be a huge lens pointing south, and that's going to be accumulating all that sun, and this is going to be a massive sun trap, so I can grow things here that just wouldn't normally grow this far north. It's going to be very protected, very warm. In the mean, I'm not rushing it. They'll go in eventually once everything's up and giving it protection. There's no point putting things in here just to struggle and die. So I'm keeping them spaces open until we got what we actually want to go in. But in the meantime, we've got all sorts of stuff growing in. We'll have a lot more this year. You can see these some sort of tree brassica perennial thing. I didn't plant these, my wife did, so yeah, I'm not sure what they are, but yeah, they've done really well. You can see the leeks are doing quite well. In amongst all this somewhere we've got some perennial walking onions as well. Other stuff will be added Obviously we've got kale, we've got that in a few places, that's doing really well. Yeah, so that's it as it is now. There's been a few changes. Obviously this section here is a bit new. The original pipe from the drainage grid that runs under all the fields here at about 3 to 4 feet down, this taps into that, and the original pipe came in here, and the little pipe monk over there, like little vertical pipe spill, they're completely in line, of course, and I've taken out the pipe in the centre effectively by digging this huge basin. I've blocked that up there and I've intercepted it here instead, so I got a little bit of overland flow here. So this gives me a couple of options. There's a little bit of running water, and you can see that's just water trickle through from the land itself. And you see I've got a few stones and bits and bobs, so things like bees and other insects can come in and drink here. We get a lot of insects here. Yeah, look at that. Hang on. There's a few of them. Look at that. Little pond snails. Didn't know they were coming up here. Yeah, there's quite a few of them. That's interesting. So yeah, you can see on the back here. Oh yeah, this is just going to be dug slightly lower, and there'll be stone put around the edges of it. Crushed stone, just to give us a nice walking surface, and that'll be just for growing various things in, like a small paddy field basically. There's all sorts of interesting stuff you can grow in water. We're not going to be short of options. And here, when I was digging it, I noticed that just under this slab there's a little seep. So what I've started doing, and this is one of the things I need to finish, is I need to dig this out a little deeper, line it with stone slabs, and that'll become a spring box basically. So it's just another source of water. In this case, that water there has got fish in. That's loaded with nutrients and all sorts, which is really good for watering stuff. But this gives us an option of clean filtered water that's just filtered down through the land, and yeah, it should be interesting. That doesn't ever flow over here. Here, and just under that soil, there's basically a channel of stone. There's just the soil dumped on top, so the water trickles through there and goes into the same little spring box there. Under here, obviously this section here is new, so you can see there's a lot of string algae, blanket algae on the surface where there isn't in the other side. That's the other side, the older original bit. It's got a lot of plants in it. They take the nutrient up and use it, whereas this side there's very few plants, and it's where the fish are overwintering. Under here, under this lump of turf, there's a slab of stone. Underneath that there's a very large pipe that's about from the edge there back to about here, so it's just over 3 foot long, and it's about 2.5 foot in diameter, obviously lying on its side, and that is a completely sheltered and protected space for the fish. So if they're getting predator problems, and we do have herons here, that's somewhere that they can go. Well, we've got herons, we got, what else, otters, we got, you name it, there's all sorts of things like to eat fish. So not that it's going to do much against an otter, but we haven't seen any on here yet. They've, one of the neighbours has had them, but yeah, so that's where the fish are overwintering. So they give off nutrient just by living in the water. Their gills give off ammonia, which turns to a couple of forms of nitrogen through soil processes, bacterial processes, and creates fertility, which at the moment, because the plants aren't doing a great deal, has given us this blanket weed. But in spring, the plant will come up again and that'll stop. You always get it in ponds with fish in until they're really mature. And in the meantime, if I want to get rid of some, I've got this. This is my handy dandy, dirt cheap algae remover. You can buy things on Amazon that are basically a brush that looks exactly like that on a very expensive pole for like £9. It's ridiculous. This cost me like £2.50 on an old curtain pole. Works just as well. Doesn't look fancy, but it works. I put this bench in. There were 2 older benches, that's where the other one was. But really, that's the apex of it. That's directly south. So I've taken that bench out. I want to put something that's actually productive there, probably some sort of hardy citrus or something like that. And that's more or less what I want to get down here eventually. That'll be pretty cool, a little protective citrus grove with pond and plants and fish and whatnot. That'll be pretty cool. This bench I actually rebuilt with slabs of stone. The other stuff, it started shattering with the freeze, and it just caused problems, and I didn't want to have to rebuild it eventually. So what I did was, the underside's pretty much the same, but I put these good slabs on top, and it's a really nice place to sit. You can't sit here for too long in summer, it gets too warm. But when I was taking it apart, I came across a massive toad underneath it. I'll cut to that now. So yeah, that was cool. It's one of them things, you know, you read about the fact that stone piles are really good for amphibians that then deal with your slug and snail populations. And yeah, that's cool, but when you actually see it working, that's even better. So we're going to do a lot more of that sort of thing, which is why I've kept a lot of this stone down here rather than taking it out. And in these buckets, which I grew rice in last year, look at that! There's a snail in here under the ice. And that is from a different pond system, because yeah, because I got these from a really overgrown, choked out pond. That's cool. Yeah. So yeah, this is greater reed mace, which is the thing that grows up to about 4 foot and puts a big seed stalk on like a cigar. You see them everywhere. They're really good at filtering water. They're a really good food source. Yeah, I mean, people can eat them, but they take a bit of prep. It's mostly really good for animal fodder. And what I'm going to do is, hang on, actually, let's show you. If I go up here, here we go. So there will be steps over here eventually. Right, you can see the swivel there. So by turning that 90 degrees, I can force the water to not go through there, but to go over this level spillway, which is huge. You can see where the boom starts there. That must be, what, 20-25 feet? We're never going to have any issues with erosion. But here, I'm going to dig a deep section, take the topsoil off, then dig down and take out the subsoil. That subsoil is going to be used for cob when we put rocket mass heaters in this year, or a rocket mass heater in this year. And that will polish the water from the duct system as it comes down through the swale before it enters the rest of the system. So yeah, I think that's pretty much covered it. I'll do another video on it in the spring when it's nicer, but it's pretty good to see it this time of year, because obviously with the undergrowth down you can actually see what you're dealing with. Yeah, it's doing well. You can see the willow on the back of it. That's come up. We're going to cut that and use it just for cuttings elsewhere. Yeah, very, very cool. I'm quite pleased with it. Yeah.